Hello, and thanks for stopping by outside the field today. This is going to be our first episode. Welcome to our channel. I'm Chris.
Well, welcome. I'm Jacob. Welcome to our first episode of Outside the Field. I'm very excited to give you guys our insight and who we think is gonna help you win your fantasy league.
Yeah, I'm a
So if you go ahead, Chris.
I'm a 24. Been playing fantasy for probably
Uh,
5 or 6 years, and I like to think that it's a very large hobby of mine, and I very much invest into this. And I want you guys to do good, and I want to be able to pass on some of my knowledge along with Jacob here.
yeah, I'm 22, a little bit younger than Chris, but got a few more championship belts under my stomach. So now I'm
Probably
just
just
a good
started a little
buddy with
earlier,
my
guys.
Chris is a good buddy of mine. We've been buddies for a while, but our main focus here is just helping you guys with our insight and just letting you guys know what we're thinking. This is not, as of right now, this is not like a hey weekly projections like we think this guy is going to be the top of the score the top of the points this week. This is like hey for this season, like this is the guy you want to go get. Like I feel like at the end of the day, like this is the highest upside that this player has. He's going to get you probably the most points. It may not be week in, week out, but we feel like these guys, if you have them, you're going to be feeling pretty comfortable at winning your fantasy league.
So we're about to hop over to the rankings here in a sec, but we just wanted to say thank you guys for tuning in, and a like or subscribe would be greatly appreciated. We're really trying to grow the brand here and continue to grow what we're doing and give you guys more insight. So if we hop on over to the rankings, we're gonna start on the quarterbacks. Any people you like really want to talk about that maybe stand out from ECR for you, Crabtree, or someone that you think is a player we need to watch?
Looking at it, going into the season, this is definitely not the, my top 10 that I had going into it, but after seeing week one, I definitely, obviously, Patrick Mahomes is clear cut favorite top one. Um, just a flick of the wrist and the fact that he can get a ball down the field 70 yards with two people in his face, it's no question he's the number one. Outside of that, though, some surprise picks that you might believe or not believe in is Jameis Winston. This guy, Sean Payton's offense, he just had LASIK surgery. Um, Believe it or not, this guy's going to finish top 10. As long as he can cut the turnovers, cut making those dumb passes, and just basically being a ball manager. Sean Payton loves to throw the ball. Drew Brees, before he lost the arm, they were throwing the ball down the field all the time, and this guy is only going to get better once Michael Thomas gets back. So be prepared and don't be shocked if you see James Winston finish top 10 by the end of the season.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not quite as bullish on Jameis as Mr. Crabtree, but I mean, I still did have him at QB 13. You know, he's someone that I think is definitely gonna be probably pushing that QB1 conversation a lot of the year. So I think he is someone, you know, if he's on your waiver wire, you might want to add. Especially, I mean, I think having a good second quarterback is always a nice thing. So maybe it's a trade piece later. But I don't know.
You got you got to remember also. You got to remember this, Chris, too. There's only been 8 quarterbacks that have thrown for 5,000 yards. James Winston, he's one of those guys.
And that
So, I granted he threw a lot of interceptions that season that he threw for 5,000 yards, but like that's no slight.
the 30 for 30,
Like,
James Winston.
hey man, he's gonna get you those points. Trust me, down the field, if your QB goes down or you're in a super flex league, he's on your waiver wire. This guy is going to finish top 10 quarterback. Guarantee it. Lock it in.
So, looking at my side over here, you know, that top three is a group I feel really confident in, and I think you and I have the same. Well, I know that looking at it. I think after week one, a lot of people are maybe a little hesitant about Tannehill, but I mean, this is the quarterback who's led the NFL the last 2 years in efficiency, and you now give him Julio Jones. I think we're all entitled to a bad week, so I would continue to really have a lot of confidence in Ryan Tannehill potentially having a career season here. And then just kind of a little further down, someone I feel pretty good about, especially after week one, is Trevor Lawrence. I know a lot of us probably got him in that like end of the QB1, maybe second QB. And I think he came out in bald week two, like this first week. Showed us he has a little rushing upside, good rapport with the receiver. So I would continue to look for him to continue to have a great season, and watch out for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I like your Trevor Lawrence take. I got him a little bit lower on mine just because I'd like to see a little bit more out of him. But all in all, they're going to be behind most of the season. They're going to be throwing the ball. He's got a great arm. He just got to cut back on the INTs, which I do think he does. And I do see him climbing up my list later on in the season. But as for right now, this is where I got him. Like you were saying, top three, I think it's pretty evident. Um, Honestly, I could see Dak climbing even higher. Um, Going back to I got Dallas receivers very high on my list for a reason, but Dak Prescott just it's his show and he's throwing the ball like Zeke is he'll get his points here and there, but it is Dak Prescott's offense. Another name I want you guys to watch out for. He did not have a great game one. Justin Herbert. I promise you. I'm not going to promise episode one. That's probably not smart. But um, Justin Herbert, there has been a trend with QB sophomore season QB running home with a MVP like season. I know he did not start great, but he's got all the weapons around him. Played a very stout Washington team. One defense is legit, and they still had great plays. And came out with a win. Um, we are both obviously Chiefs fans. As a Chiefs uh, fan, I am worried about Herbert. I think he's legit. I think he's real deal. He's got
Oh, I
arm,
mean, nobody's
talent.
stopping
He's got the
Mahomes.
IQ. No, no, no. No one's topping Mahomes. Is
That's our
Mahomes is the
guy.
guy. But Herbert, on a non-biased level, he's legit, and he's going to be here for a few years. So definitely got to watch. I think he's got MVP type caliber season ahead of him, and I think it's something that if you got him at the right pick during your drafts, he could help win championship this year. So look out for Justin Herbert. Chris, what do you think about Lamar Jackson? I know we got him a little bit different in our rankings. I'm kind of interested to see your opinion about him.
One thing I did want to point out real quick about Herbert was we did have him a little above ECR, so it's someone that you and I are pretty high on, and I agree. And especially if Mike Williams can continue to step up, I think that offense has the weapons he needs to succeed, and they gave him the O line, so I think that's a great call. Lamar Jackson, man, I mean, I don't know, it's weird. Like we had a good game, but a lot of his receivers are down. Lamar didn't have his best week. I think what he put up like 24 in our higher QB scoring league, if I'm not mistaken. Do you know that off the top of your
Yeah,
head? That was it.
I can
Um,
look it up real quick.
like I think you have to just kind of trust in Lamar here. I'm pretty sure he finished. I'm gonna have to look this up too because I also need to know what he finished last season. I believe he was a top five guy. If I'm
He
not,
had
was he top five last year?
he had 19. He had 19 in our dynasty league this year.
Okay, so 19. But I mean,
Or this week.
he was QB 10 last year. I mean, he is a guy you put a lot of draft capital into, and I think you have to have faith that he's going to find his way and use his legs to keep you in some games too. I mean, points are points at the end of the day, my friend. We're just here to win, get them dubs.
So I actually disagree with Chris on this. I've never been a big Lamar Jackson
I
fan.
know, I
Um,
know.
the the one year he went off, he helped Chris go very far in his fantasy league. He got him in a great pick in our draft league.
Waiver wire.
But I don't believe in the arm talent that he has. I mean obviously he's an NFL quarterback, so he's doing something right. But just from the other quarterbacks and like a normal pocket passer type guy, I don't see Lamar Jackson as a guy. He's gonna get you points running. He's gonna make a play here or two, but that along with not great receiver play, and abnormal running right now with all the running backs that have gone down in Baltimore. I think Baltimore this year is a sinking ship, and for me, I would try to trade any Ravens players you have. Mark Andrews is the one guy I would kind of consider because he's always been a safety blanket for Lamar, and Lamar loves to throw in the middle of the field. But really, if you have Lamar Jackson, I try to trade him. He's still going to finish around top 10, but I
So
don't expect top 5 or anywhere near his MVP level.
I guess my question to you would be then, so you say you'd want to trade Lamar. I mean, in a one QB league, what are you hoping to get for like out of Lamar Jackson? Because I mean, I do believe you could go to the waiver wire, and there's plenty of QB options that could give you. I think if you were ever going to stream QB, I think this is honestly one of the potentially greatest years there ever was. Or there's probably a Winston out there. So if you believe in
Yeah.
Winston, you pick up Winston. What are we trading Lamar for?
If you are able to snag Winston off the waiver wires this week, do not trade Lamar this week. Wait till he pops off. You want to sell absolute highest. That's what we're here to do. Sell your players at the high and get the max reward. But when he has a great week, when he'll have one or two, three here or there, I
I think
think
you'll
you
have
can
more than
get.
30.
Yeah, probably. I just don't see him finishing higher than a 10-ish. I think you could get an RB 10 through 15 for him or a really, really solid flex play. Um, it just kind of depends. Each league is different. It just depends on the roster. I've always said that there is no price that is not enough. So everybody's got a price. So it's just about wheeling and dealing, and I'm one of those guys that likes to trade. That's how I build my teams.
So,
Don't I have decent drafts, but I build through the trading. So you just got to be willing to talk, negotiate. Those guys that are going to do that are going to win leagues. So Lamar Jackson, once he pops off, running back 10 through 15, receiver 20 through 30. That's what I would expect. So I think that's fair.
would you trade Lamar for Daryl Henderson, who you have as your RB 21?
Ooh, I think I don't think I would trade. Well, I'll tell you what. If I had Winston, if I picked him up, and that's the best I could get, I do believe in Winston. I do think that Winston's going to finish pretty close to Lamar Jackson. And if you couldn't get anything better than Daryl Henderson, if he continues to play the way he did, I would think about it. But I think you could get better than Daryl Henderson. I think an ideal candidate would be like a Chris Carson. I think you could get Lamar Jackson for Chris Carson. Um, uh, Possibly Clyde if he stays exactly where he's at, but I do project Clyde to finish a little bit higher than what he played last week. Um, yeah, people around that.
Would you go trade Lamar for Ezekiel Elliott after his first down week?
Yeah, I would do that immediately. I do think Zeke will have a better weeks ahead, but I don't think he's gonna be top 10 this year. In
So
my opinion, I think there's a lot of great running backs out there, and the reason I say that is I'm a strong believer in Dallas's passing game this year, and I think that after we saw the first 4 games last year before Dak's injury, and after seeing Game 1 this week, I think it is strictly a passing, and they'll run the ball, but only when they're up.
So I mean, Zeke is coming in at ECR 5. So I mean, you are much lower than the consensus when you're talking. You have him at RB 16. I mean, you think that there's just his days of volume are just over. You don't think he has volume like you don't think his volume is the same as it was.
Well, you guys got to remember like how fast like RB shelf life is. Like we were talking about 2 years ago when Todd Gurley was the guy. Zeke's been in the league and he's been running for 5-ish years now. So I do think that he's coming, or his top prime years are coming to an end. There always are about 2 to 3 first round picks that aren't considered busts, and I'm projecting Zeke to be one of those this year. Along with Zeke, I'm projecting Aaron Jones and Saquon Barkley to be the so-called busts of the first round. Kind of a bold take here, but I do think that with everything that played out this offseason with Green Bay, it's not a situation I would like to have right now. Do I think they pick it up? Obviously, from that embarrassing game that they had game one, yeah, they'll still finish 11-6, 12-5, but I don't see MVP numbers like last year from Rodgers. He missed an entire training camp, um, and I just think it takes a while to get things going down in Green Bay. What about you, Chris? What do you think about or what do you think about Aaron Jones this year? Aaron
Mm,
Jones, Zeke, and Barkley.
Barkley is another player pretty similarly to you that I've got a bit further down the rankings today. Um, after that first down week, it's kind of hard to believe, especially, I've heard that, he's not fully back from the ACL. There's a lot of weapons there now, so it's not like he's going to be getting the same workload that he was. We are pretty down from ECR, which is up at 8 for him, but I think he's just kind of showing us that, he might be this freak of nature, but I don't think he's going to be the same player he once was. Aaron Jones,
That's I think to see.
that's a tough one, man. Like with the Aaron Jones situation, I just kind of want to give the whole Green Bay Packers like a pass on it, and that might be the wrong take, but like I do think they have a lot of problems going on there in like the infrastructure. But I think they're going to work out their problems, and I'll give them time. Maybe next week if we have this problem, we'll revisit this conversation again. But right now, I'm just going to kind of wait that one out. And I mean, Zeke did play the Buccaneers, so I'm going to also give him a pass. Not very many running backs got above 10 points against the Buccaneers last year, so there's next week. And I do think that the offense is going to run through the air, but Zeke's still going to eat, man. Him with the cereal bowl, he's got to get his. So,
Yeah, no,
um,
I hear you there.
but looking at the running back list, I think David Montgomery is a guy that you and I both feel well above. I mean, we have him at 8 when ECR has him at 15. I think it's a guy that you and I believe he showed what he needed to do last year. He came out here with the workload. He was able to improve his efficiency numbers, which is something I always ask of players. His first season, he really struggled in that metric. But last year, he was able to come out and prove that he can be that RB1 and take on the workload. And I think he's still getting the air usage. I mean, he did only get the one target, but 16 carries, 108 yards, 7 yards a carry. I mean, I think he's still going to be that guy and a guy you can really believe in, a top 10 running back. So he's a player that I think you should really try to acquire if the price is right.
Absolutely. I've been high on this guy all off season. In almost all of my drafts, I'm in about 6 leagues. I think 3 of those 6, maybe 4, I own shares of Montgomery. This guy finished either 4 or 5 last year.
Or RB4.
Going into this game, RB4, including this game, he scored a rushing touchdown in 6 straight games. The last person to do that, dude, I saw the stat. I forgot it, but it's a pretty well known name, but I can't remember it.
But
I'm gonna look it
let me
up.
ask you,
But
does that not kind of scream touchdown regression for you, which also means a slight dip in points from what we may be seeing over this last stretch of David Montgomery?
well, one would think that, but I'm actually very very high on it. Like you can't expect Andy Dalton to start for the Bears too much longer. At some point, Justin Fields is going to take over. And Justin Fields is a rookie quarterback. And anytime you get a rookie quarterback and he's throwing, you need some type of safety blanket. Their tight end's not an extremely good tight end. He's pretty decent. He'll put up some points here and there. But for me, I look at Justin Fields to look at Montgomery as a safety blanket, other than obviously Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson will be the go-to. He will be force fed. That's just how it is every year. Allen Robinson always succeeds with whoever's the quarterback. So no worries with that. But David Montgomery, he's a guy that, hey, if he has a bad week, I would absolutely try to go acquire him. I think he's depending on the price, he's a league winner. So definitely try to acquire him. I think he finishes, or believe it or not, top 5 again. I got him at 6 right now, a little bit higher than what Chris does, but I think David Montgomery is somebody that um, could potentially finish right around that 5, 6 range. after some regression from some other running backs that I see happening. So outside of David Montgomery, Chris and I pretty much have the same top three again in running backs. We have CMC, Cook, and Kamara. Those are the guys that they're getting the ball so much they're going to score points for you. I do want to talk to you a little bit about Derrick Henry. What do you think about Derrick Henry? You think last game? I know we kind of believe in Ryan Tannehill and Tennessee and how it's just kind of like a off week for him. But you have Derrick Henry a little bit higher than I do. Give me your thoughts on him.
Well, first and foremost, surprisingly, he got 3 or 4 targets this week. So I mean, he actually got a little bit. I'm pretty sure he got 3. I think he went 3 for 3. So I mean, Derrick Henry getting any volume in the reception game is honestly a sight in the right direction. We've really never seen that out of him. But I mean, I do have some worries about the injury, but as long as he's playing and as long as he's on the field, I mean, I think he's going to continue to produce at a high level. Like kind of like we talked about, running back shelf life isn't very long, but I mean, until he starts showing that sign of wear and tear, I think right now he's just chugging along. So he's going to be a guy I continue to believe in. Kind of like Green Bay, I'm just going to give Tennessee a pass for week one. Week one's always a weird place in the NFL. I mean, I don't think the Raiders are better than the Ravens, or I don't think that the Cowboys are as good as the Buccaneers. But I mean, it's week one, man. Weird stuff happens. So I'm going to continue to believe in him and trot Derrick Henry out there as a top guy and believe in him.
First off, before we get back to the Derrick Henry, how dare you talk about Dallas like that, man? Top three offense this year, bro.
Top 3 offense with a bottom 3
I
defense. That doesn't do
Yes,
anything for
true,
me.
true, but when you got an offense like that, I mean, Dak is electrifying. Like I honestly like I don't get a sense of when you watch Patrick Mahomes, like you just like get this like intensity and like you're like wow, like I'm watching like an artist right now. Like the next closest person I get to like feeling like that, like watching play quarterback is Dak Prescott. I think that like he is literally an artist. Um, don't think he's anywhere close to Patrick Mahomes like skill level just because Patrick Mahomes is just so far and above. He's just a clear cut guy. But I think from like the artist of being a quarterback and like how he makes plays and stuff, like he reminds me a lot of like Mahomes in that type of way. Like it's just really, really fun and electrifying to watch. Um
Um,
other but go ahead.
there's a guy I actually really want to talk to you about. We all expected him just to explode this season. You know, he's just continued to rise through the draft season. Najee Harris kind of comes out and has a disappointing week one. The offensive line looks like they were really struggling to open up holes for him and get him going, and we really saw that in his production. Not that he didn't have the workload, it was the production we got from it. So, how are you feeling about Najee Harris after week one right now?
So how you kind of feel about Green Bay and Tennessee? That's kind of how I'm feeling for Najee Harris, not Pittsburgh. Granted, I think Pittsburgh. I think Big Ben. He looked old. He looked like he was uncomfortable. He looked like a coach in pads playing football. Um, I'm a little worried for the passing game. I do think that Big Ben has a tendency to throw the ball and force it. So like from the receiver standpoint, I'm not too worried, but from Big Ben's standpoint, I'm a little worried. Now to Najee Harris, I think that that's going to be their bread and butter this year. Bills have a great defense. They're very stout. I watched the game. It was a defensive game all the way around. I don't think anybody really scored a touchdown until the second half, and the only reason the Bills scored, or I think it was the Bills that scored first. They scored a field goal or something. Whoever had the ball first, the only reason they scored was because they returned a kickoff 80 yards to their 20-yard line, and then they went 3-and-out. Yeah, it was the Bills. The Bills returned to their 20, and then they went 3-and-out. Um, yeah, I think Najee Harris, give him a pass. He looked good. He made a few rookie mistakes. I think they'll clean that up in practice this week. I got him ranked as 9 on my list. Overall, we have him at 11, which I think is right around the area you'll see him all year. I think he'll have some high weeks, and I think he'll have a pretty solid floor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not I'm not out on Najee, but I just think it's something we might need to watch and just kind of monitor our expectations and realize that this might personally just kind of tank some weeks. And I think it's something that we just need to keep an eye on and reevaluate next week and see how he does. Looking in the back half of your running backs, is there someone who kind of stands out above the rest for you? Someone you have a lot of faith in this season, or are they all just kind of guys to you?
Um, on the back half, um, got some names that I think that could very much creep up more. I could see DeAndre Swift creeping up. I could see Clyde creeping up. Those are some of the names I see. I get a lot of hype about Antonio Gibson right now. Um, it will be interesting to see how it plays out with the new quarterback, Tyler Heineke, I think it is. Um, I do like Tyler. I actually have him as a sleeper in some of my dynasty leagues. I think he he played really well during playoffs. He had 11 out of 15 for the rest of the game when he took over Fitzpatrick. I think he's a definitely if you're in a dynasty two quarterback super flex, somebody you should go pick up. But depending on the play of Heineke, I think Antonio Gibson could be a strong play down the play or down the field. Um, or down the year. Clyde, I expect to climb up the boards here shortly. I think he's going to get a lot more work in the passing game. The Chiefs don't really have a clear cut receiver too. They're not getting a lot of production out of it. And after Hill and Kelsey, you don't have much there. So I would not be surprised to see Clyde go into a sort of a pass catching uh, spot where he's getting 80 targets this year. Last guy that I kind of that I think could climb boards is Kareem Hunt. You always got to keep Kareem Hunt, man. He's even with Nick Chubb there, he could finish top 15, top 20. Chubb goes down, he's easily going to be a top 10 back. Um, just from his days in KC, I can tell you this guy's legit. So they have two from a talent standpoint. They have two top 10 running backs there. So definitely guys look at and maybe look to see about acquiring. Chris, what do you think?
Um, I don't know, Kareem, man. I want to believe in the Kareem thing, but I mean, I think the points are there. But I don't think he. I think he's kind of hard to predict which weeks you want him and don't want him. So I mean, I think he's kind of a boom bust guy for you in your lineup. But I mean, he isn't a late RB2 that you could potentially have. In that same category, I honestly really like Chase Edmonds. I think he came out the first week and was really productive with the workload he got and was able to show you a lot of great things. Did really good in the passing game. And I mean, we both know James Conner just has to breathe the wrong way, and he's out for 4 weeks. So I think that would really boost him up a lot. So Kyler's just going to cook all year. We saw that Kyler's not playing games. He wants to win the NFC West. So Chase Edmonds is a guy I think I'd watch out for a lot. And then, I mean, depending on this whole San Fran backfield, I think it's really hard to ever trust them ever again after this whole thing. But because Sermon sitting was a really, really weird situation. But if Elijah Mitchell could continue to get a large workload or Tyson Williams, I mean, I think they can both be very productive in high workload backfields.
I actually want to hit up a topic you said about Chase Edmonds, man. I was going into the season on his case, but I disagree wholeheartedly with you after the game. Um, I was looking into it, and it actually James Conner saw 16 carries during that game. I believe that's more than what Edmonds had.
It was.
Um,
I'm pretty sure Edmonds
Conner
had,
saw more carries than
but Edmonds did
um,
out touch him.
uh,
I didn't know that.
yeah, I get that, and like for the most part, yeah, they're going to be throwing the ball, which is nice. Chase Edmonds, I think, could be a good PPR back, but I don't think this is clear cut Chase Edmonds team yet. I agree with you that James Conner could breathe wrong and hurt his ankle, but I still think it's a little bit more. I wouldn't say split. I would say a legit 60-40. You hear 60-40 all the time. It's usually not a 60-40, but this is a case where I definitely could see a legit 60-40 Edmonds. I I think if he gets the carries and he gets more looks, definitely he could climb up the board. But right now, at least from what I'm seeing, week one, I don't see that happening as of right now. Um, I agree with you on Elijah. Whoever's getting the carries in San Francisco, they're going to put up numbers. They just run the ball. That's all they do. Unfortunately, they run the ball so hard that their running back gets hurt every other week. Whoever's starting, so
The poor running
touch
backs.
and go one there.
Um,
Um, yeah, so that's some guys for running backs that we like. What do you think about Damian Harris though? Let me hear your thoughts on this guy real quick.
um,
I kind of have sneaky climbing ability on my boards.
I think so. I think, it's going to be a very traditional style New England offense that we're used to seeing with Tom Brady under center. I think Mac Jones is very much the same player. And I think they're going to want to use him the same way and run a lot of the similar offense. So, I mean, I think Damien Harris could see a nice workload. It's unfortunately going to be capped because it seems like he's more going to be like on the ground back. So, I mean, half PPR standard, I think he could be a really, really nice play for you. But I think in PPR, he potentially loses a bit of value. But I think he's someone I could continue to watch move up a little bit this season. But I do think he kind of has a cap ceiling. But a low end RB2 is always a nice that piece to have on your roster. And if you can get it for a pretty cheap price, I mean, like I said, running backs are hard to come by. So it's something I potentially look into. But let's move on over to wide receivers. Looking at the top, we have a lot of the same guys. Tyreek, we both obviously have a lot of faith in. Devontae Adams, man, let's start there. Are you starting to worry a little?
As we kind of went into it a little bit, I'm kind of off of Green Bay a little bit. I don't think Rodgers is going to finish like an MVP type like he had last year. Obviously, when you have an MVP type quarterback or like type year, Rodgers is always an MVP type. He just depends on the season whether he gets that MVP type season. Um, but when you see an MVP type season, you see phenomenal numbers from the top receiver from that offense. This year, since I'm not high on Green Bay, I'm not as high on Devontae Adams. Obviously, the guy's a freak of nature, so I still have him in my top five. But the guy I see having one of the top offenses is obviously Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, new offensive line, a lot of pass protecting. I see Tyreek Hill as somebody that has the absolute highest upside out of everyone in there. Is he the best receiver there? Um, he's arguably top two. I would probably put Hopkins above him if we're talking about talent wise, but upside, I see Tyreek Hill as somebody. Hey, he could have 10 points, and the next thing you know, Mahomes is flicking the wrist and he's gone for an 80-yard touchdown. So Tyreek Hill is somebody I have at the top of my boards, and I think he's going to stay there all year. What about you, Chris? What do you think about Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill?
I think those are still our top two guys. I think you got to plug them in every week and just let them do their thing, man. They're the best of the best for a reason. Quickly, someone I want to touch on, we'll try to move through it a little quicker here towards the end. But Calvin Ridley, man, are we worried at all? Or are we still just gonna keep plugging and playing, man?
I don't think the Falcons are going to be that bad, but it's something that I do think that these players that I have above him just play better. Obviously, the players that I have ranked above, I think they're just in better offenses. But as a pure like route runner, like Ridley is just like one of the best you can get. Um, what do you think? I know you got him ranked at 4, and I got him a little bit lower at 8. But what are you thinking with Calvin Ridley? You think you're worried a little bit or no?
I think it's just the growing pains to the Arthur Bryant system. First year, they're obviously changed up the offense a little bit. They probably, I mean, we saw them use Mike Davis, so I mean, it's probably not going to be as pass heavy as we're used to in this Atlanta offense. But I mean, I think Calvin Ridley can still be very productive with potentially, like an 8, 9, 10 targets a game, which I easily think he will get this year. Because outside of Calvin, there's not someone we truly trust on that offense. Since we're on the Falcon offense, man, Russell Gage kind of throws up a donut. It was someone I thought a lot of us coming into the season had a lot of faith for and we're really expecting a lot out of. So not a lot, but I mean to be that nice, consistent floor option. Is he kind of someone that you feel is potentially droppable?
I wouldn't drop him yet. Um, I'd give it another week. This is somebody that when Julio was out, was performing at the top of his game. Like I don't remember the exact stat, but I believe it was like, hey, the games he started, if he would have started like all season, it was like 1,200 yards, uh, 70 plus catches. Like it was an insane number. Um, I do think the Falcons looked god awful their first game. I don't think they had a great pass blocking, and I don't think that they got the ball and made right plays. I think we watched Russell Gage this year. Again, like Chris was talking, I had him on my sleeper. I drafted him late, thinking he's a potential um, great flex play down the line. We'll have to see what happens with that. So, Chris, big thing that I want to talk to you about, though, is the fact that we both have two Dallas Cowboys receivers in our top 10.
Did I have Amari in the top
Amari,
10?
no, sorry. You have Amari right outside the top 10. So you have two Dallas Cowboys in the top 11. I got two Dallas Cowboys in the top 9. What are your thoughts, man? What are you thinking?
I mean, I think that we saw just week one playing the Buccaneers that this defense still is not good. This defense still is going to put them in a lot of bad situations, let them get behind early. And I don't know why they keep doing this, man. I've never seen a team go down so much so early, but just the Dallas way apparently now. And Dak Prescott cooks off of it. And who does he feed? Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, I think these are two guys that are going to have great years. I think they're both consistently going to see in that 8 to 12 target range. High touchdown upside because, I mean, you don't believe in Zeke. You know, you think he's coming down a little bit. Michael Gallup's not only hurt, but I mean,
Yeah.
Michael Gallup's not, he's your field stretcher. He's not your red zone guy. Dalton Schultz is just a kind of guy, so you don't really have a lot of people to get these red zone targets to, and they're going to get a lot of consistent work. Continue to look for these guys to both just have spectacular seasons. I kind of was a little low on Amari coming into the season, thinking it's CD's world, but I think there's more than enough space for the two of them.
So who do you think finishes higher, CD
Uh,
or Amari this year?
I'm gonna kind of lean with a lot of the other experts here, and kind of I think CD's the guy. I would not look at those drops in his slight efficiency problems week one as a consistent problem. I think he's a spectacular talent, and he'll continue to just get better as the season goes. You know, Amari's had almost 2, 3 full seasons with Dak. CD's still only played 6 games maybe with him, so give him some more time to continue to grow together and really cook.
So CD is somebody that I absolutely loved coming into the season. I think that depending on the type of league you're in, if you're in a dynasty league, CD Lamb's the guy you want to have. He's going to be the guy. He's going to be long term. He's going to be there. I would not be surprised future years, like down the road, like next year or the year after, if Dallas try to trade Cooper, just because I think Gallup's a um, pretty good receiver as well. But if you're in a redraft or like a 1 year league, I do think Cooper is going to finish higher. And let me tell you why. Um, Last year, first 4 games before Dak got hurt, he saw 14 targets, 9 targets, 12 targets, and 16 targets for what was it, 30, 42, 50, 51 targets in 4 games. He caught 16, 20, he caught 37 of those 51. That's an absurd number. That would have put him at top 5 receiver last year uh, if Dak would have finished. And without Dak, the rest of the year, he still finished receiver 15 overall. I think Cooper is primed for a great year this year. I see him finishing top 10. I do see Lamb finishing right around that same. I do think, like Chris was saying, both of these guys are going to get 12 targets a game. Defense is very, very poor. I don't think the running game is what it once was. They got a great offensive line. They're going to have some games here and there with their running back, just because of the league. But I I think that this is Dak Prescott's offense, and I see Mark Cooper being that guy this year. That uh, if you took him later in the round, third, fourth, can help win. All right, Chris. What are some other big takes that you see on our receivers? That we got some differences. Um,
Um,
I know we want to talk about Tampa Bay receivers. I know we both have Mike Evans way down this list. Tell me why you have Mike Evans further down than Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin.
we are very, very, very far below consensus on this one, which is they have him at receiver 24. We have him at receiver 37. So, I mean, that is quite a big difference there. I think a lot of it kind of stems from the fact that, last year he was very touchdown dependent. And once AB came in, like, his role is just kind of sucked up and dried. I mean, I think Mike Evans will still have a game? Like, yeah, I think Mike Evans will still have a lot of good games, but I think they're going to be very hard to predict. I think he's going to be really boom or bust. I think he's going to be 4 or 34 in your lineup. And sometimes it's not the player that I necessarily want in my lineup. And not only that, I think he's going to give you a lot more 4s than 34s. So, I think AB and Godwin, they fit that Tom Brady receiver role that he wants. They're both going to get 8, 10 targets a game. They're right in the middle of the field where he needs them. Someone he can just hit in stride and let them make more plays after. And so I just think Mike Evans isn't that guy. I think Chris Godwin's going to be our top man, and AB's not going to be far behind. I have AB at receiver 20. I could see him pushing up kind of further this list.
I 100% agree with you. I think out of all the receivers on Tampa Bay, I actually got Mike Evans as the fourth option. I think Chris Godwin is above and beyond that guy there. You got to think he was a year. Last year he was hurt for 4 games. He missed. The year before he was receiver 2, so he is 1 year out of a receiver 2. Last year being hurt for 4 games, he still finished receiver 31. He is 25 years old. This guy, in the games that he played, put up 14, 17, 10, 24, 7, 15, 18, 17, 4, 13, 19, 30. Like, those are very, very solid numbers, especially where you're going to draft him this year. I think most people had Godwin sliding in like the late fourth, early fifth this year. Um, Maybe a little bit earlier, and it just depends on some of the leagues, but I had most of them in the late fourth. Antonio Brown, we're hearing reports that he's looking as good as he did when he was in Pittsburgh, and I think Tom Brady's got him in check, and I think Antonio Brown is back. I don't see him going up much higher than the top 20. I have him. Chris has him at 20. I have him at 22. That's kind of the range I see him all year, just because I do believe Chris Godwin's going to get the majority of it. That third option down in Tampa, I just see Gronk. I think Gronk looks phenomenal. He's gonna have a top 10 tight end season. That connection with Tom Brady is evident. They could be asleep and they're gonna score touchdowns. So um, I definitely see Godwin, Brown, Gronk, and then Evans as deep ball guy. Like Chris said, he's going to get 34 one game. He's going to get 2 the next. So
So
definitely try to trade Evans.
later down your list, maybe like past that receiver 25. I know you got Jamar Chase there, Chark at 28, Higgins at 29, Cooks at 31, Waddle at 37, Jacoby at 34. Are any of these people you maybe see breaking out and really showing that these are players we should have had earlier in the season and we just need to wait on them a little bit? Or how you feeling about this group? Anyone stand out to you?
Cooks has always been somebody that's done a lot better than what his ADP has said. It's not somebody, he's not really like a sexy pick, but it's like somebody like you're gonna get points out of. Smart Chase is interesting, but I don't really trust somebody that says they can't really see the ball because it's bigger, or I don't even know what the quote
He
was, but
said
he
that,
said
but he
something
came out and had
ridiculous.
a great week one, man. Like, is this something we're
Yeah,
just
I
not going to
hear you.
believe in?
No, it's not something that I've given up on. I think Jamar Chase. I mean, they drafted him for a reason. He's gonna be the guy there. I just think T Higgins is really good. I also think Tyler Boyd is good. He's had at least 2 seasons, maybe 3,000-yard seasons in a row. That's no joke. And I don't see that just disappearing. Jamar Chase is going to be the guy sooner or later. I just don't know if it's this season. I'd like to see another game or two out of him. Cooks, looking back at it, finished last year 22, year before 16. Or sorry, year before last year was 16. Before he gets hurt, finished consistently in the top 20. Um, they're going to be down. They're going to have to throw the ball. And Tyrod Taylor is actually somebody I really believe in as like a journeyman type quarterback. So I think that he's going to get the ball to him. Tyrod's going to take advantage of the opportunity. Yeah, you're going to see Cooks eat this year. So I could see Cooks potentially creeping up. Chris, what about you? You got some people you got down on your list that I'm kind of interested in. Um, not really down on your list, but this is somebody that's been talked about pretty highly as of late. Corey Davis, what do you think about him, man?
Honestly, man, I'm kind of I got on this train a little late, and I wish I had really like kind of sat down earlier in the summer. For some reason, it feels like Corey Davis has been in the league forever, and he's only 26 years old. So I mean, he's kind of hitting his prime right now, and seems like him and Zach Wilson have a really good connection. They had a great week one. I don't have the exact stat line on me, but Corey Davis had a really great week one, man, and showed a good connection with Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, if you're going to help him out as a rookie quarterback, he's going to continue to let you produce, man. So I think that that's someone I really believe in. I honestly have Jamar Chase really high. I feel maybe I might be a little bold on this one. I have Jamar Chase at receiver 17. He's someone that I think, I'm just going to believe in the
Oh yeah,
connection.
you're bold.
I'm just gonna believe in the connection there. Corey Davis, I have at receiver 24. I think Devontae Smith actually really surprised me and showed, I was pretty hesitant, but he just came in and showed that he can be that guy, and I think he'll continue to operate at the level he needs to. And the other guy I just really have a lot of faith in here, who I have at receiver 29, is Mr. Jalen Waddle. He didn't have necessarily a spectacular week one, but he came out and showed you that he has a connection with Tua and he can be a playmaker, man, able to get some yards after the catch and be a good player on the field. So I think as the season goes on, that's going to continue to blossom. And I think Jalen Waddle could potentially be a league winner, like a high 20, like, sub 20 guy. So I see him continuing to move up my
Yeah,
board.
gotcha. Interesting. Last take I want to ask you about receivers before we move on to tight ends. Uh, it's the growing question this week in fantasy: Adam Thielen or Justin Jefferson?
Hmm. I don't know, man. I, I, I want to say that realistically, Justin Jefferson will finish on top at the end of the season, but up until this year, last 2 years, I believe actually, Thielen was down from averaging 8.4 targets this season to 6.2. So his workload wasn't there, but Kirk, he looks a little healthier this year, Adam Thielen, and Kirk still really has a lot of faith in him. And he's just a monster red zone threat. So I think that Adam Thielen could potentially really surprise us, and they could finish in that same range this year, if not Adam Thielen a little higher. But I think realistically, Jefferson will finish out with a better season, but probably more yards driven.
I think this is one of those like situations that like, hey, they're gonna be down a lot and they're gonna have like garbage time. And Cousins just gonna be chucking that ball. I don't see Vikings finishing better than 5 or 6 wins this year. If they're lucky, 7. Um, I think Justin Jefferson, he's not somebody I was very high on coming into the season. I think his ADP was way too high. And I don't think his ADP will ever be higher than what it was this year. I think he's a good play. I just don't think he's somebody that I would have bought at the price that it was costing me during draft time. So it's somebody that I don't have any shares of this year. Adam Thielen, I'm also not extremely high on. I think Adam Thielen is going to be coming down. He's a little bit older, and Justin Jefferson is the future, and I do think he's going to get the majority of the shares, and I think that's the guy you're going to want long term this season. But don't be surprised if these first few weeks takes Justin Jefferson a few weeks to kind of get back into the groove of things, get out of maybe a small sophomore slump, and get back to it. But I do see him getting back to some solid top 15 numbers for sure, and potentially top 10 later on in the season. But yeah, you got any more takes you want to take on these receivers, or you want to move on to tight ends?
I think we can go on the tight ends, man. What's something that I'm really just looking at this list immediately pops for you, and is something that you think you nearly hammer home to the viewers?
Alrighty, you've been hearing it all off season that this is the guy you want to draft in your late 5th round, early 6th round, and this guy is going to finish top 3. T.J. Hawkinson is the guy. He is an up and coming stud. There's no other receivers in Detroit. He's going to be forced the ball. Jared Goff looked phenomenal week one. He had a few hiccups. Obviously, that's just what Jared Goff does. He has hiccups here and there. I think he just zones out during mid game. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're playing football. Forgot." But nah, T.J. Hawkinson. I think whether they're down or they're up, he's going to get the ball. I see a little bit of a Darren Waller type of force speed. He had 10 targets last game. I think he had about eight catches.
Yeah, he was 8 for
Touchdown,
10, 96 yards, 97 yards.
Yeah, so he's somebody I am very, very high on. I have him in a lot of my leagues. Definitely want to acquire him. And I know we both have pretty much the same top 4. I just have TJ Hawk above George Kittle, just because I like Kittle. I think he's gonna have a good year. I just think I see a little bit of regression just because of the back and forth play between Jimmy G and Trey Lance, and the fact that he's coming off a pretty decent injury, so it might take him a few weeks to get back to normal. But I do see a pretty substantial difference between Noah Fant with where you have him and where I have him. What do you think about Noah Fant? Why are you so low on him?
I don't know, man. Noah Fant is just not a player I really have a lot of faith in, and I think it's very possible that he finishes below the tight end 11 spot that I have him at. So, that's something I'm going to have to watch throughout the season. But, I mean, and I guess now, especially, I probably do need to move him up now thinking about this, because we did lose Jerry Jeudy, but I mean, before we lost Jerry Jeudy, there was a lot of mouths to feed. We had Cortland Sutton. You still have Tim Patrick on this roster, some Jerry Jeudy. There was a lot of people that were going to see some sort of targets. The running backs were going to get some. So, no, it's not that Noah Fant doesn't have the talent. It's just that he's never really put it all together, and he seems to have a lot of nagging injuries that kind of hurt him a lot. So, he's just not a player I have a lot of faith in at this moment.
I think if you're a dynasty player, Noah Fant's like an excellent guy to try to go snag right now. Like, I don't think it would cost you like too much, but like it'd cost you like a decent amount. But I think Noah Fant's like sneaky good. I think that whoever the quarterback is, I think they're gonna have a little outlet to Noah Fant, because he's a tight end you can rely on. Like Chris said, the downside that I see in Noah Fant is the nagging injuries. But being surprised, I do see Noah Fant finishing in my top 10 for sure, unless he gets hurt. But I do have him above Mark Andrews. I like Mark Andrews. Just like I was saying earlier in the video, not big on the Ravens this year. I just feel like everybody going down this year and with injuries. I just think the Ravens is a team you want to stay away from, unless it's Mark Andrews, just because he's going to get the ball here or there. But
there
Mark
is
Andrews require. Go ahead.
There is a player I really want to talk to you about on here, man. Tyler Higbee. consensus has, hold on, let me pull it up for you. Tyler Higbee consensus is 7. I have Mr. Tyler Higbee at 9. You have him all the way down. Oh, you moved him up. You must have just moved him up.
No, I moved him up before this video. No, I was off of Higby before this season. I was watching the Rams game. Chris was telling me I'm a fool. I went and looked into some stats. Higby looks nice. I think he'd be a solid fill-in tight end. Like if you didn't want to pay the premium for one of those top 5 guys, um, top 5, top 6. I think that's a definitely a solid snag you could get in your later draft that you had this year, or you could go trade or try to pick up for on the low. So Higby's
We are past
nice
draft season,
plus.
my friend. Just so you know.
I yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying I do feel like Higby is the type of guy that you could go snag on the low that wouldn't cost you too much. So
Is there any
what else we got
other
here?
tight ends on the bottom of the board that you feel pretty good about?
Tight ends is such a tricky
It
play, man.
is like, how do you feel about Dalton
Like
Schultz and Cole Kmet? Are these two guys that you think might give you more consistent floors, or because I mean Dalton
so
Schultz did fit. Go ahead.
I love Dalton Schultz. I think that he's a really good guy. He's productive. The problem is the Cowboys love their other tight end that they have. I think his name's
Blake
Jarwin or
Jarwin.
something like
Blake
that.
Jarwin.
Blake Jarwin. He was out last year all year with an injury. Dalton Schultz took over and had a pretty productive year last year. The problem is this year is that Blake Jarwin is back and they're going to give him some type of targets, which is going to take away from Dalton Schultz. Now that being said, even though they're taking away from him, I could see Dalton Schultz being productive this year just because the Cowboys will be down so much and they're going to be passing as much as they will. Like I said, I see this gameplay for the Cowboys 80% passing, 20% running. Like that's just how I see it. But no, I like Dalton Schultz. Other than the top 9, top 10, I'm not really too concerned. Dallas Goddard. Did I say that name right? I never
Dallas.
Goddard.
I call him Goddard, but I mean tomato
Goddard.
tomato.
It's
I mean it's
Goddard.
probably a little rude, but we'll get it down eventually.
Right.
We'll ask him one day in
But no,
person.
if Zach Ertz is out long term, that's a guy that immediately goes into my top 5. I think he's right around I'd put him above Fant as soon as Ertz went if he ever went down. A guy that I also feel like is gonna could climb some boards is Rob Gronkowski. And a guy I think that could go down on the boards is Kyle Pitts right now. Don't be surprised if Kyle Pitts does not put up numbers. Rookie tight ends usually struggle. Not something I really bought into going into the season, but looking more into it, do I think he's a bad play long term? Like dynasty wise? No, but this is something that do not be surprised if he does not put the numbers you expected this year. What do you think?
I mean, I think Kyle Pitts, and I agree, like that the rookie tight end is about the hardest thing you can ask of a player. And I'm not saying that I'm gonna expect if he finishes at tight end 5, tight end 6, our top tight ends are gonna score 320, but he's gonna be not like 160, 180 range. Like he's not gonna have a great year necessarily, but he's still gonna finish, I think, relatively in that middle range of your tight end group, just because they're not good, and he is going to get the production because he was a 4 pick, so they're going to try to get him very involved. I brought Cole Kmet. I think he's a player that I'm not saying that I would expect big things out of him this season, but if he's out there on the waiver or something, he's maybe a player I'd look to add to my roster. It is only his second year, so he probably needs another year or two before he can really explode for you. But I still think that he's a player that can be probably a pretty consistent floor. And if Fields comes in, I think he could have a nice little role that it's going to be good enough in a later tight end if you happen to not have one of those top guys.
No, I completely understand, and I do agree. It's interesting, but I'm not willing to take the pickup on him just yet. Now I'll be interested once I see Justin Fields take over and see what he's got. I do think Justin Fields is legit. Um, just don't know with the Bears with what they're gonna do, but sooner or later he'll start to. So only boost up everybody on the Bears offense. All right, man. I think that's all we got for you guys today. We appreciate all you guys hanging out and watching us through. If you guys have any questions, you're always free to email us.
Drop a comment.
Email us the drop a comment, and we'll do our best to respond. We also have a Twitter. We'll be dropping all of our content along with YouTube. But yeah, if you guys want to give us a follow, like, subscribe, we'd appreciate it. Share. We're trying to grow this into a business to where we can do this for our jobs and give you the content that you guys love to get. So yeah, drop a follow, share, and like and subscribe.
Thanks for stopping by and watching today, guys.